ways. I wanted to ask you because you made a comment 24 hours ago that I found personally very interesting. You said something to the effect of that European countries, the colonizers have become the colonies.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you explain that for me?
Yes, thank you so much for pointing out that passage. I'm absolutely sure of it. All the indicators say so. The fact is that the West was formed as a community of states that were traditionally monopolies and that disposed of colonies. France had a large number of colonies in Africa. Britain had colonies mostly in Asia, India, Southeast Asia, Spain, Portugal, the Netherlands, and the United States, which in its purest form did not have large global colonies, but they were engaged in the slave trade. They exploited people. They bought and sold people. They were subjugating lands that belonged to the indigenous people. They were cleansing those lands of the indigenous population. Among other things, they treated those nations like colonies around the nascent United States. So the Western world has been shaped for centuries around one simple thought, simple and scary. They are exceptional because they have power. Power provides them with advantages. They don't have to justify themselves for anything. They should just take the fruits off this aggressive exploration of the planet. That's their collective logic. It's amazing that in the 21st century, look what's happened. Their former colonies, Africa, Asia, Latin America, have become not just de facto sovereign because they have borders, national symbols, because they are members of the UN. No, because they make sovereign decisions in their own countries. Over the past year and a half, Africa has been under pressure from Washington in every way possible. Not just discouraged from cooperating with Russia, but threatened. They threatened not to issue new tranches through the IMF because the Americans are in charge there. They threatened not to give investments. They threatened personally, in many different ways. But Africa did not give up. Africa said that it will figure out with whom to cooperate and interact. Africa knows the historical role of Russia, the Soviet Union, and the historical role of the West. Africa knows that Russia in the form of the Soviet Union came to Africa leaving behind plants, factories, roads, infrastructure, energy, leaving it to the Africans to use as equals. When the West came, it only took away everything, resources, slaves, and the future of the continent. Africans remember all this very well. They are defending their independence. And what happened to the former colonizers, the countries of the European Union? They have lost their sovereignty. They have submitted to the will of Washington and perhaps partly to Britain, because Washington and London are acting together in one way or another on a number of fronts. They lost their independence. They really became colonies, colonies of the United States. This community even now has a name. It's called NATO. Not even the European Union, but NATO. The U.S. wants to drive more colonies into this community of colonies. Western Europe is not enough for them. They have already set their sights on Asia and other regions of the world. Everyone understands this very well.
As the multipolar world really does start to blossom here, we're seeing many of our delegations who have come to St. Petersburg, they almost have a sense of being emboldened. They're stronger, they're standing up straighter, they are really speaking straight. One of the things I noticed from the guests we've had here is that they don't have any scripts, they don't have any cue cards, they're talking from the heart. And that is part of the way that they're so effective in touching all of us here. And I'm amazed at the turnout of this forum. I'm so impressed with the interest from the visitors who have come here. But multipolarity is now taking center stage.
Have you seen charismatic politicians in the West who have the ability to voice their opinions clearly and professionally? Name me one. If you see bright politicians, it does not mean that they are charismatic and have the potential to create. We've seen plenty of bright politicians. They tend to be clown politicians in the West. They are eccentric. They are politicians who grab the attention with eccentric, shocking, apathetic actions. But I have not seen such charismatic politicians who are ready to lead people, who motivate people to create, who help people to overcome difficulties and bring them to a new level. They simply have not existed in the EU for a very long time. Why? Because the concept
of days.